Well, I think the first thing, and Mike, I know will echo this, is be authentic, be yourself. And, get over that fear of hitting the red button, as you say, because I think that's what stops people. And, I was
Absolutely.
having a conversation with one of our clients last week. And, when he started with us, he had never done video. He knew it was something that was important, but he didn't know where to start. And so, we give them scripts to start with, but then also we're teaching them now. And Scott, you're doing such a great job as far as how do you use ChatGPT? How do you find your voice? Coming up with that. So I think the first thing for most people is don't be afraid of it. Lean into that.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Mortgage Influencers, where we bring you professionals who share insight into the latest trends, tips, industry technology, and services to help you be a mortgage influencer in your mortgage business.
Am I using the right mic? No, I am not.
Okay, and here we are. We're live. We want to welcome you to our very live episode of Mortgage Influencers. It is Wednesday, so that means we have more information to share with you. My name is Ginger Bell, and I've got Scott Schang with me. Hello, Scott.
Hello.
And
switch to the right mic right in the last minute.
Awesome. That's important. And Steve is traveling today. I'm not sure where he's at, if he's in the air, or if he's speaking, but he's a busy traveling man. So he's not with us, but we are excited to get going today because we have a guest who I have just had the opportunity of meeting. I'm excited about you guys meeting. And so, Scott, this is your guest. So I'm going to let you introduce Mike and we'll lead in.
Not only is it my guest, I think I shared with him my Zoom link. So his name says my name. That is not Scott Schang, the second. That is Mike Ferrazzi.
I'm okay with it. We'll just roll with it.
Yeah, no, I met Mike through Brian View from FinLocker. Mike's been working with Brian. And what he really kind of specializes in is helping people create video, primarily short form video. And he has been working on Brian View's short form videos. He's been doing shorts and publishing a lot on LinkedIn. And Mike's also kind of a part of a small group of us that have been kind of working on LinkedIn and sharing each other, supporting each other's posts and creating more of a presence there. And so, I talked to him a little bit and I started talking to him and I was like, man, this is a really, really cool, really interesting guy. Why have I never heard of him before? And we were kind of talking about this before we went on air, and I'm going to let Mike share his story, but what we're seeing in some of the contraction that's going on in the mortgage industry is people like Mike that used to be very involved in corporate brands and marketing and had big budgets and could experiment with stuff and figure out what works and what doesn't. They're now kind of not in those brands anymore, and they're sort of out in the wild, and which is giving us normal people access to people that have this crazy kind of experience that we haven't had access to before. So without further ado, Mike, welcome to the show. I'm glad you were able to join us.
Yeah, appreciate it. Please, anybody who's watching or listening right now, don't let Scott's words fool you into thinking that he's in any way normal.
I'm normal in the sense that as a small entrepreneur, when I was originating for 20 years, I'm trying to make a living. I'm trying to manage people. I'm trying to run my business, and then I'm trying to geek out on technology. No, you're right. I'm abnormal in that way because I'm geeky, but so many other loan officers, they're working on their business and they know they need to do marketing, but they just don't have the bandwidth to do it.
Exactly. And that was part of the reason that I founded my company, Red Button Media. I mean, my little elevator story, right? We'll keep it really, really short. I'm an 18+ year mortgage industry veteran, started as a retail loan originator, moved into being a wholesale account executive, bounced around to a few different mortgage companies, ended up transferring into secondary marketing and product management. doing a lot of that stuff, onboarding investors, investor relations, selling closed loans on the secondary market, pooling up all the Ginny 1s and Ginny 2s, producing rate sheets, programming versions of Optimal Blue for nationwide retail mortgage banks, all of the capital marketsy and secondary marketing type of stuff that you'd expect from somebody who just kind of gets into the nitty gritty. But the entire time I saw a lack of education. There's just a huge lack of education. And at this time, I wasn't even looking at consumers. I was looking at our industry, our brethren here, that there's so little education for them. So instead of onboarding a new investor and rolling out a suite of programs and giving people some guidebooks to review and saying, have fun with it, I'd start making videos. I've been a passionate photographer for a little over a dozen years now. And luckily, when I got into photography, that's when kind of the prosumer level cameras started coming with a record button. So I started playing around with that and thinking, well, I can make a pretty picture. Maybe I can make a pretty video also. So I'm just going to get on video and start telling people about these programs and the real features that are there, so they don't have to read through 30-something pages and figure it out for themselves, and kind of maybe the niches or the arbitrage opportunities that they can that they can open up through this new mortgage program that we're able to roll out to them. Here's what it is. Here's how to use it. Here's some proper education without making you join a horrible go-to meeting where nobody can get connected properly and you can only hear half of what somebody's saying. You know what I mean? We've all been on those. Please mute yourself. We can hear what's going on in the background. Like, nobody wants that stuff. So when everything that happened mid to last year happened, I found myself, like many mortgage professionals, much more available than I had been previously.
Right.
And I saw that as an opportunity to launch an endeavor, which I now call Red Button Media. We're at hittheredbutton.com. Brian View is the one who said, I love the action-based URL. And I had never thought of it that way. But that's what we're trying to get people to do, is hit the red button, make some video. And we're trying to do it in a way that's accessible to as many people as possible. Because from what I've seen, is the typical agency that you talk to might even charge you a few $1,000s to get on the phone with them. But the only thing they know how to do when you say the word video is send a full-on camera crew out to your place, whether it's your house or your office or whatever it is you're meeting, and film very commercial, polished looking stuff. And that's great when you have ad spend to put behind things. But your typical mortgage professional, especially now, has no ad spend. They're looking for organic reach, organic growth. They want to make video or produce whatever it is, written, audio content, whatever type of content you're producing. We don't have a whole lot of additional capital to put into promoting that, pushing that, running ads with it, and things like that. You need to post it so you can gain a following, build a viewer base organically. And investing that kind of money, agency level money, so to speak, just doesn't work out. It doesn't fit into the budget. So what is left? Well, this is left. That's what we have. And you know what? It's $1,000 camera in everybody's pocket. It's good.
Yeah, they're great.
It's good enough. But where to start? To get somebody to guide you, to get somebody to coach you along, to maybe even handle the file management, the editing, what do you do after a video is created? All of that stuff, like, it's all part of the process. And we're busy being professionals in a different way. We don't have time to become content creators. We're busy being mortgage professionals and serving our clients and our referral sources. So that's what I founded Red Button Media to be, a place to come for anybody with any type of a budget who will be able to gain more information or get the help that they need to create the video content so they can post it wherever they want to post it, whether it's on social media sites or their YouTube channel or their website, or whether they're using it in email outreach, which is a huge opportunity that not many people utilize. Mm-hmm. Doing those things, be able to make the video and then learn how to treat that video as an actual marketing asset, not just something that you post on social and let it die.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to say you are Ginger's brother from another mother. You guys think so much alike, and you do kind of similar. You talk about similar things. But there's always, there's different people for different things. What I would love to talk about, both Ginger and Mike, what are some of because I know both of you will kind of help people create the videos. What are some of the best tips that you're telling people that you're showing? Like, what do they do once they create the video? What kind of content out there are you guys seeing that's working? And then what are you recommending? How do they use that? Ginger, why don't you kind of start first with what kind of stuff are you recommending that they're doing, and how are they using it to have success?
Well, I think the first thing, and Mike, I know will echo this, is be authentic, be yourself. And, get over that fear of hitting the red button, as you say, because I think that's what stops people. And,
Absolutely.
I was having a conversation with one of our clients last week, and, when he started with us, he had never done video. He knew it was something that was important, but he didn't know where to start. And so, we give them scripts to start with, but then also we're teaching them now. And Scott, you're doing such a great job as far as how do you use ChatGPT? How do you find your voice, coming up with that. So I think the first thing for most people is don't be afraid of it. Lean into that. Back when I was a corporate trainer with Dale Carnegie Training, we did, workshops on overcoming the fear of public speaking. And that has transcended into overcoming the fear of doing video. And the problem with video is it's longer lasting. So they see themselves. And so we have a lot of our clients that they'll send in videos and they'll just say, just edit it, produce it, post it. We don't want to see it. But I want them to see it. It's like, I want you to learn from it. And so I think the first thing is to realize, to be authentic, to be yourself, and to keep going, because those first videos that you do, they're going to suck. And we always say this, Scott, you got to get over the suck.
Push past the suck. Yep.
Yeah. And so that's okay, because you're still doing it. It's funny. Some of the most viral videos that we've seen have been very simple videos, very much like, we have, and she's been on this, on our show a couple times, Theone, and on TikTok, she had a video she did, quite honestly, out of frustration, just all the questions. How do I get started? Where to get started? And it was, a very short TikTok video. And it's like, hey, if you want to buy a house in 2023, here's 3 things you need to do. First of all, don't quit your job. Oh my gosh, really? Second thing is start saving money now. If you're going to buy a house and this is how much you're going to buy, then you're going to need this much for a down payment. And if you don't use it for a down payment, you're going to need it for closing costs. If you don't use it for closing costs, you can use it for furniture. So start saving money. And then, the third thing is to put together a plan. It was a simple video. The last I checked, she had over 2 million views on it. It has provided her with so many leads for this year in 2023 of applications. And so I think oftentimes, Scott, it's just don't overthink it. It's like what we think of complicated. And I give an amazing background from everything you've done. I mean, my gosh, the education you have, people, they don't need to know that. They don't need to know what's happening on secondary.
No, absolutely not. Nor do they want to.
And another thing,
I mean, if you're a personality type like Scott, you probably want to.
Or Kyle, Kyle's doing
Kyle's
90-minute videos on
mean,
FHA guidelines.
Yeah,
I'm talking about from a viewership perspective.
exactly.
Your standard viewer doesn't want to know the ins and outs of secondary.
No.
That's a very small audience that the vast majority of mortgage professionals are not trying to reach.
Yeah. And then the other thing I think, and you mentioned this, Mike, as far as don't think of it just in terms of social media. Put it into your email marketing, put it onto your website. So many people I talk to, it's like, okay, let's put your videos on a blog post. You can take a video, transcribe it, take that transcription, embed the video along with the transcription underneath, because some people want to read. I mean, it's like crossing those mediums. And so think in terms of what you're creating with the video can be very much repurposed, and it can be evergreen. And so it's not a one and done. I mean, we were just talking, you were on Scott's podcast,
Yeah.
Mike, and before we got started, you were talking about how you took that podcast. And a lot of people are doing podcasts. We produce podcasts for a lot of our clients.
Absolutely.
That's a ton of content. I mean, those clips, what did you do with that podcast that you were on with Scott?
Yeah. So what was it? Scott, was like a 45-minute long conversation.
Probably.
And obviously we had the long form podcast that Scott was able to put out to all his channels and all his feeds. And he so graciously provided me with the recording. And I was able to pull out 9 clips and edit those into shorts and supplement the content that I was already doing.
Right.
That was another thing for me, is that when Scott gave me that podcast and I was able to pull those 9 clips, I didn't say, oh, now I can take 9 days off and making my own content.
Right.
You know what I mean? No, that was a gift.
That's icing.
That was a bonus that supplemented the content that I was already posting every single day. And what I was telling Scott is that, I mean, a lot of the times you just got to test and observe and reiterate and do things a little bit different. So I was already posting a video every day about how to make video. I get really meta with my content because I post video about videos, and it's a whole it's a whole thing. We can go deep into that. Core content is one of my pieces of core content, and it's a whole thing. But I would typically post my video around 10:30 to 11:30 in the morning on the West Coast. That's where I am. I'm on the West Coast, trying to kind of get to the people who are about to take their lunch break, and I didn't know what type of an audience I had on the Central and East Coasts. And I had never really tested posting things in my early morning, talking like 6:30-ish
Right.
in the morning, which would be, 9:30 on the East Coast. So the clips that I got from the podcast with Scott gave me 9 days where I could post an additional video early in the morning and see what that did for views and engagement and everything else under the sun. And it turns out it did pretty darn well. And as a result of that, I've pushed up my posting schedule, and I'm typically posting earlier now than I was a few weeks ago before I ran that test. So just the testing and iterating it can't be understated how important it is. And as Ginger, as you pointed out, all that could change 15 minutes from now. Like everything's rapidly changing. You never know.
Yeah.
You never know.
Well,
but,
and the thing for loan originators too, and for you, you're a detailed number guy, so you want to see those analytics. For most originators, first of all, record the video. Second of all, you don't have to do one for Instagram. You don't have to do one for Facebook.
No.
You don't have to. It's like, it's okay to share them on multiple sites. It's also okay to use them over again.
Absolutely.
We keep a library of those clips, and you can pull them back. You can use them over again. And then the other thing, although the timing is critical, as far as some engagement, it's also one of those things that I don't want originators to get like, oh my gosh, now I'm going to have to monitor this. Now I'm going to say, no, post it and post it and post it. And it's the consistency is what's important, because you can have an audience at 6 a.m. for you on the West Coast that works this week. We see a lot of engagement on the weekend. And so, it just kind of depends on, you're more B2B probably for what you're doing. So if you're a consumer, then you need to look at that. But I don't want people to get caught up with that as far as the engagement. And then the interaction, I think, is important. And so making sure that in your call to action that you're putting, that strong call to action. And you talked about that with your tagline, your URL is a call to action video as far as, making that. And so make sure you're putting a call to action. We've seen that a lot. Danny Ruiz, who does a great job with his videos in Spanish, and he gets a ton of engagement on TikTok. And he was getting people saying, hey, man, thanks for all the great information. We just closed on a house. And he's like, why didn't you call me? And it's like, oh, hey, we didn't know. It's like, well, I'm giving information on mortgages. What did you think I did? But for him, he wasn't consistently doing that call to action. And I think sometimes we're afraid of that. Scott, you and I talk about this often because you and I are both very much fearful of that. We don't want to oversell. We don't want to see pushy. We don't do that. But, it's one of those things that you have to tell them what to do. And so let them know. So I think including that call to action at the end is important. And then engaging with them. So if people are commenting, and if you're posting a video, put in the comments, hey, what are some of the questions that you're having? What are the things that you'd like answers on? And that's what I think a lot of people will provide. I was just listening to a podcast with Katie Lance and Chelsea Pice, and they were talking about the numbers and the views and what does that really mean? And Instagram doesn't really, divulge as like, okay, a view, is that 1 second? Is that they just scrolled by it? I mean, it's like, don't get caught up in the numbers. Don't get caught up on how many likes you have, how many views you have. Just keep doing it. And I know Kyle saw that when he started his YouTube channel. It took him over a year to get 100 subscribers. Sure. And when he got that, he's like, all right, I've got 100 subscribers. But he kept at it. And still, I think he's been at it for 3.5, almost 4 years. He still does every single week. He does long format video, and but he does that. And so I think that's it. Get started, hit the red button, as you say, and then be consistent with it. So I have a question for you, Mike, as far as format.
Yes.
And Jason always talks about this as far as if you're doing reels, it needs to be the vertical format, how you're recording. Obviously, you're doing long form content onto YouTube. It needs to be the horizontal. What do you recommend? What do you tell your clients as far as grabbing that camera and hitting record?
You have to know who your viewer is.
Okay.
Every piece of quality content starts and ends with the viewer. So, I mean, at the end of the day, you're making it for them. So if you're making a piece of content that your target viewer is going to be watching in 30 to 45 seconds, and it's going to be convenient and easy to consume, then vertical, because our screens are vertical.
Right.
And every platform is friendly with vertical now. Whether it's Instagram Reels, Facebook Reels, which is super underpriced right now. LinkedIn is super friendly with vertical. Even LinkedIn will take all video formats, which I love. And I mean, just TikTok obviously is vertical. Even Threads now, accepting videos up to 5 minutes long in basically any orientation. So I don't think orientation helps or hurts a particular piece of content as long as there's intent behind that content before it's created. If you know where you're creating it for, then you're going to know
which audience you mean by which platform. Like if you have an Instagram audience, you're gonna primarily do your content for an Instagram audience, vertical length.
Exactly. So my shorts, I make vertical because they're shorts, and on all the shorts platforms, short form platforms, whether it's a reel or a short or whatever it's considered, they all take vertical. If it's long form for YouTube or a website or anything like that, it's horizontal. And Scott, I'm going to take it back to the clips that I pulled from our podcast. I edited those square because, like you pointed out, Ginger, most of what I'm making is B2B, and I made those primarily for LinkedIn. So that was another test. Like, I'm just going to do these as square because it shows up nice in a LinkedIn feed.
Right.
And I'm still going to upload them everywhere else to see how they do, to see if these platforms and the algorithms punish square format versus vertical. Instagram kind of did. TikTok, not so much. Facebook, not so much. So it's always a testing and observing and learning process with that stuff. But if you're going to get started with short form, stick to vertical. Even if you want to shoot in long form, just make sure that there's enough room around you to crop it vertical, because that's another great way that you can repurpose content. Make your long form video, or a lot of what I see people doing is making short form video and not knowing how to stop talking. And I tell people that's okay. Every once in a while, it's okay. You have a lot of value to deliver. You have a lot of thoughts on your mind. Keep talking. Instead of trashing that take, make it a long form video. And then once you have that messaging dialed in, then go ahead and record your short form video that you intended to do in the first place. And if you have enough space in your framing, then you'll be able to just crop in and make that a vertical short in the edit.
How difficult is it to do a widescreen format into a vertical format? Like you said, you just have to have the space.
Yeah,
Is
it's
there
not
any?
difficult.
No, we
It's
do
just
it
like-
all the time especially with the podcasts, because most of them are wide format. And so there's so many things now, and I'm loving the whole what's happening with AI. And Scott, you and I talked about this the other day when you and I had a chat, and there's so much with technology now. What used to be difficult, and you talk about the produced videos, and a lot of people want, okay, I'm going to shoot, in 2 cameras, and we'll get when we start someone else on their podcast, they'll be like, okay, I've got all of this, and they've got 4 audio files and 4 cameras. Like, okay, don't overthink it.
Yeah.
But there is AI now. There's a lot that you can put into Premiere. And it's crazy, Scott, what it'll do. I mean, we're running some tests on it right now, and it clips out 2 cameras, 2 audio files, loaded in there. And what used to take a really long time in your production, the AI will go out, and honestly, it clips it out probably better than what an editor can. And so that's the thing I'm absolutely loving.
It does a
getting
really good job
so
with the
much easier.
especially with a multicam
Yeah.
file. Because it will, if you link up the audio files to the proper video files, it'll just auto switch your cameras for you based on
It
who's
does
talking.
it. It's crazy
crazy.
to
Awesome.
watch it. I'll show it to you, Scott. I mean, it is so crazy to watch it. And even, there's so many apps now on your phone that you can use. And if you want to do a quick little video, load it into CapCut or load it into Splice. I like Splice. Last year when I did my 60 to 60 challenge, that's what I used on mine. And it'll put your captions on there. It'll add in all the music. I mean, honestly, the technology today makes it so simple for you to produce a lot of your own short videos that there's no reason for you not to do it.
Agreed.
The one thing we're coming up, man, that went really fast.
I know, right?
It went
Oh,
really
yeah.
fast. That was
Yeah.
awesome. One of the things I really want people to think about and take away, because a lot of your effort, Ginger, with getting people to do the podcast, and with these podcasts, we're inviting on our referral partners. So you're doing a Zoom or a StreamYard or something like that. But doing what Mike and I did, if you're doing those podcasts with a referral partner, then you edit that up into, you get it to somebody, you get it to a Ginger, you get it to a Mike, you edit it up into all of these shorts, and then you're tagging that partner. That's what Mike did. Mike tagged me in every single one. Hey, Scott, thanks for having me on the
Sorry
podcast.
again.
But he warned me beforehand. He goes, hey, bro, I'm just going to warn you right now.
I did. I shot him a
Tagged.
text. I was like, I
You're gonna
got
get
9
tagged
and
in
you're
all
getting
these
tagged
posts.
in every one of these.
But now your referral partner is getting tagged. They're sharing it on their social media, and you're getting 9 to 10 clips, and they're getting 9 to 10 clips of them looking like a rock star. Because obviously Mike took it, and when you take this and you give it to the editor, you say, hey, listen, pull out 5 clips that make the real estate agent look really smart. Pull out 5 clips that make me look really smart. In a 20-minute conversation, that's super easy to do. And then you're tagging that other person in it, and you're just amplifying your content. Repurpose and amplify. So get other people involved and do it once and edit it 10 different ways.
Agreed. And before we run out of time, I want to say one quick thing, and I want to build off Ginger's point of having the CTA in your videos, because I always like to offer something that kind of tries to change people's thinking a little bit. Don't think it needs to be a hard CTA. Call me for this, DM me for this. That's not always needed. Sometimes people want to reach out to you. They just feel like they don't have the permission to. Sometimes it's just letting people know that hey man, I'm available if you need me. Like that can be a CTA. Feel free to reach out to me with any questions. That can be just making yourself more approachable and letting people know that they have permission to contact you.
Yeah.
In itself can be a CTA. It's not always about getting them to do one specific thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and Carl White's always really good about, having that, hey, if you or anyone because I think sometimes, and we do videos to an audience of one, but when you let them know, hey, if you or anyone has
that's right. I do know other people.
Yeah, it's like, oh, hey, and feel free to share it. I'm happy to help. I'm here to help. I'm here to serve. It doesn't have to be, like you say, that hard. It's like, if you're there to serve, then that will come through, which goes back to the whole thing about being authentic. So I want to make sure. So if you want some information about Mike, check out what he's doing. Welcome to the club. We're glad to have you on board.
It's appreciated.
And so join us in our Mortgage Influencers group. We started this group, I think, 2.5, 3 years ago, is right around the COVID time, just to open dialogue about what people should be doing regarding video. We changed it to influencers because obviously there's podcasts, there's books, there's so much. So how can they get a hold of you, Mike?
Head over to hittheredbutton.com.
I love that.
All my contact info is there, or you can hook up with me on LinkedIn or Instagram or TikTok or Facebook or Threads or Twitter. I'm sorry, X. That's X now.
Did you get that on all the social? Is that's your tag on all the social?
No. On all the socials, I'm some variation of Mike Ferrasi.
Okay.
So on LinkedIn, I'm Mike Ferrasi. Twitter is Michael Ferrasi, I think. I think on TikTok I'm Mike.Ferrasi. On Instagram I'm the Mike Ferrasi. If you search Mike Ferrasi, you're gonna find it within the top 10 to 15
within there
searches, and it's all the same picture of my mug, so you'll recognize it. You'll know who to follow.
Awesome. I love that. Well, Mike, thank you so much. Scott, thank you as always. And for those of you who are with us religiously, thank you so much for joining. And next week, we have a special guest, Nate Clear, who's the National Sales Manager for First Funding. And he's going to talk about how to stand out. And he obviously serves a lot of the non-Dell market. So as far as branding and things like that, as far as standing out. So I'm excited to have Nate on for that. So thanks, guys.
Thanks,
now go
Mike.
make a video.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.